the regular Bucyrus City Council meeting for February 4th, 2025 to order at 7 p.m. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Myers.
Here.
DeShawn.
Here.
Shireman is absent. Moritz.
Here.
Sherrick.
Here.
Hickman. Here. Me.
Here.
I'd like to table the minutes until after permission for visitors to speak, unless anybody has any objection to that. Okay, we're going to move on. Granting permission for visitors to speak. Is there anybody that'd like to address council? Please come to the podium and state your name and address.
Greg White, 1125 Hillcrest Drive. Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I'd like to thank the administration for my huge utility bill for January. 15% water increase, 14% in sewer increase. I guess that you don't care about the residents and how they're going to come up with this money. Some of us will be paying, depending on our usage, between an extra $200 to $600 more per year. Remember, these increases on the businesses will come down to on everyone else. They're going to have to add more to their goods and services for this cost. How do you think it's going to affect the people on fixed incomes? I understand we, the taxpayers, have to pay for this $4.25 an hour pay raises that you guys gave out. You were elected by the people to serve the people and not to rob us blind. Can't wait to see what you're going to do next. Now let's talk about the resolution ordinance 243-2024, the council clerk's pay raise. There was even questions at the last meetings on the union signing off on this. We're giving out an extra $1 per hour for a thank you. That is an extra $2,080 thank you per year. Does every clerk get this extra thank you also? There have been too many mistakes in the clerk's office, even the minutes of council. Are the records up to date? And when I'm talking about the minutes of the meeting from January 21st, I discovered this today because I read all the things. Melanie Ellis never stated that the $4.25 per hour ASME raise, that they deserved more. She never stated that. I went back to the videotape and actually pulled her records out. I am not going to argue that people should deserve or get more money. But when the company, the city of Bucyrus, is in the red, do you justify increasing your employees' wages, yet even not thinking twice where you're going to be taking those wages from a selective group of people that were you were voted to represent? She worked for a union for 18 years and never got anything close to a $4.25 an hour raise. She even had her pay freezed and forced to take cost-saving days off with no pay with her employer. My employer didn't have the money to give raises. If the city is facing a deficit, they also don't have the money to give raises to anyone on their staff. So that needs to be corrected for the record. Why wasn't it listed in tonight's council packet that 243-2024 was the council clerk's pay raise? I find that quite odd again. Everything else shows what it's for. Once again, people are hiding things from the public. Could this open up the city for more lawsuits because not all the clerks are getting the thank you $1 per hour? Council needs to put a pay freeze on now. Tonight would be a great opportunity under new business to do this. Stop fleecing the taxpayers of Bucyrus. Thank you.
Any other public participation?
Right, Thitoff, 210 Ethel Street. I was wondering if we could get an update on the old Swan building. If there's any new news, haven't heard it brought up lately. As far as, I see there's a realty sign that's for sale now around the building. There's one in the back and one on the other side.
Arc Realty has it listed for sale. Yes,
I haven't even seen that sign.
yeah. It's been
There's
out
one
for
on
a
each
couple
side.
weeks.
Not small.
I was wondering, is there any updates on that? Does anyone know, or?
You'd be the one, you shake your head no.
I drive by that thing every day.
There's no updates. If you notice, they did take down a bunch of the bricks that had the potential of falling.
I just seen them today, and
I
it's
was gonna say,
still getting ready to collapse, so someone's gonna get hurt really bad. When it comes down, it's not gonna come straight down, it's gonna blow out into the street. Who's responsible for when it does damage a vehicle or kill someone? Is that gonna be
The building owner.
okay, is there a way to prove that they have insurance to cover that? I mean, we're all over the taxi cabs and everything as far as insurance, but we can't find out if they're gonna be able to cover a death. No? Okay, thanks.
Any other public participation?
Nichole Huber, 1020 Caldwell Road in Bucyrus. Again, my name is Nichole Huber. I'm here to talk about services that are needed in our community, not just for autism families, but special needs families in general. There will be 7 programs in total that I'll touch on. The first one is the Applied Behavioral Analysis Therapy, known as ABA therapy. This program is available for people on the autism spectrum, ASD. This program helps families better understand their loved ones' behaviors by written assessments, the before, during, and after steps. But if you have no access to the ABA program, then you're not aware of these steps or any other steps that can help the families. And the closest one that I know of is the Monarch ABA in Upper Sandusky, and they can't take any more people because obviously they can't find enough people to staff. But the next one that I know that is available is in Nationwide Children's in Columbus, and they can't come to the home because it's an out-of-pocket expense for us. So they don't get that individual understanding of the child or the adult. I feel like this is something that we need in our community. That leads me to my next service that's not available, is a one-on-one autism-specific counselor. I understand that it is hard to come by someone that specializes in autism in that field, but if we could invest in that, it would be very helpful. I speak from experience. My son has gone through many counselors, but none have gotten to his level to explain things to him. They talk at him, which causes behaviors and lack of wanting to talk to them. I feel like this is an investment that could help other families, not just my own, because I feel the right fit counselor could help the individual thrive and be productive in the community. Another tool that I think we need in our community is not just special needs, but all families that are struggling. This is family functioning therapy. It has helped my family, but we had to go out of our community, which the company that we went through was NIAP, which is in Erie County, to find this service. But if it was brought to our community, and the need is known, because I was told that it was need-based, that they could come to Crawford County, it would help keep families together and not being separated. The next service we do have in Galleon, but the wait list is so long that it's at least up to a year, and that is IHBT, in-home intensive based therapy. It can help families also stay together as well. The other problem I'm seeing is about 36% of the families in Ohio are single parents with special needs kids and can't find affordable childcare, so they can't work. Even harder, from speaking from experience, is taking a teenager with special needs and needing someone to take care of them while you're working. Next, I would like to talk about the Big Brother, Big Sister program that matches mentors to children that need them. And the closest program that I've seen is in Columbus, but I feel like there's plenty of families that could benefit from this program. Last but not certainly least, we need to find a program like NIAP to provide consistent respite care with people already employed so that the families do not have to stress about trying to find one on their own. Because if you get one through the Board of DDs, you have to go and find your own. And this program has personally also helped me and my family. But if we can find something that could be available in our county, that would be greatly appreciated. And I wanted to say thank you for listening to me tonight and considering all the things that I've presented.
Thank you.
Any other public participation?
Hi, my name is Brian Reeves. I live at 900 Southeast Street. I'm here for a couple things to talk about that's on the table for the city. First of all, that is city tax. Leave it alone. It's just a Band-Aid fix. You're going to take it. You're going to make a lot of people upset, and they're not even going to vote for a levy. To the police department, I don't agree with Mr. White much, but I do agree with him about having a tax levy for the police department for equipment only. I think you should try a 1.5 mil. That should give them 9 to 12 cruisers in a 3-year period. I mean, I'm pretty sure the citizens would agree to that. Towards the sidewalks, I would like to ask the council to go for a walk in their ward and just walk like down the sidewalks. You can't even walk down certain areas without it being so rough with the flagstone that's broken, cracked. That's a major hazard. I saw an old lady carrying groceries and she couldn't even walk on the sidewalk. She had to walk on the lawn. Then the fire department, I had talked to you guys about that. When we discussed it, you said that you couldn't do it because it's a 911 call. Well, even if it sits the way it is, if I do have emergency and you come to my house and you take any one of my members, since I'm not in the network, I'm gonna pay $5,000 or $10,000 for transportation to that thing, to the service. I come to the council about presenting a bill I got for having my daughter, a 13-year-old daughter, that we had to sit for almost 24 hours in Bucyrus Hospital before we could get her transferred to Cleveland to get her help. We got a bill of $5,000. We were lucky that the insurance company worked with us because it was at a network and knocked down to 28. Now, if Bucyrus would look into this, if you times the 2,500 times 17, you're looking at 17,500. If you times it times 52, that's one run to either Cleveland or Columbus. They can make $910,000. Now, I know you have to take out for the equipment and gas and labor and all that, but if you did happen to get 2 runs, you can make almost $2 million. I mean, the fire department can fund themselves. I know you say you can't do it, but there should be a way they could work in it. And towards the marijuana dispensary, I don't know why we can't be a leader, not a follower. Why can't we have a dispensary? I'm not for it either or, so I don't care what you do, but the state is already talking about raising it from 10% to 15%. Why can't you have a temporary dispensary like the tower, that you have your tower, and then in 4 years or whatever you agree on, then say it's not working or it's working and then keep it. Now, annexing properties. That's way past due. That needs to be done. That should have been done since 1992, because when I went to school, you had a neighbor that was across from you that went to a different school, and you went to the one school and you wondered why. It's just hurting Bucyrus. School system, not getting property tax just like it is to school, because you can't even get counseling unless you're on welfare if you make a decent wage. And I have paperwork to prove all that with it. And then towards the keyboard warriors of Facebook Live, this is for you. To stop all the comments and comments, is the council allowed to have cell phones and be on them while council is going on?
There's nothing in our rules that says that the council members can't have a cell phone.
Well, then maybe they should turn it off and have only when council's in session, all cell phones are off. Because I feel the people that's in this stands feed to the fire and keep the negativity rolling. So if you either delay it or if you put it back, then that will stop that. And then I'd also like the city to look at an ordinance, a conflict of interest order. And this is the second time that I know of that somebody's worked for the city. owned a business and something has come up. I talked to a council member before, he told me it was water under the bridge. Well, it looks like something's underneath that bridge. It's causing that water to come back because this is the second time. And it goes all the way back to Campbell and Ackerman as mayor when that happened. And then now it's happened with Waveling. We should have where if you own a business, you cannot be involved with city somehow of an ordinance, conflict of interest, to where they have to give it up. Because I almost positive Mr. Campbell had to give up True Value to be the service director when he was on city council, but then that changed. So I got more, but I ain't got time because my 5 minutes are up.
Give you an additional 5 minutes by unanimous consent unless anybody objects.
Do you need more time?
I just need a couple more. I won't take much more of your time.
I don't hear any objections, so you can go another 5 minutes.
That's all right, I'll just wait for you guys to stay here long. I'll just come to the city. I wanted to come here just in case I couldn't make the city hall meeting to let it know. I know you guys are here for like 2 or 3 hours at a time, so I'll go. Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, one other thing. Sorry, I do need that. This is for you, Miss Bigger. You don't know me, and I don't know you. Please reconsider about running for council. We need you. Something serious. You are a very good bookkeeper, and you keep the city in check. So please reconsider. Thanks. Have a nice day.
Mr. Myers?
If I could, Mr. Reeves, I wanted to reply just to 3 things that you said that I made notes on. On annexation, that won't change school districts. Those are 2 separate things. So even if the city were to grow, the Bucyrus City Schools, Winford local schools, and Colonel Crawford local schools, those don't change.
They wouldn't get no taxes off of it?
No. So 2 separate animals.
Okay.
As far as you mentioned, if you called for a City of Bucyrus Fire Department ambulance, you would get a bill? Yes, you would. However, it's by the Ohio Vice Code, we have to soft bill, which means they will take whatever your insurance company pays and then they write the rest off. You don't pay any out of pocket as a city resident because the Ohio Vice Code stipulates that because we're using tax money to fund the department.
Would that work on the bill that I gave
No,
you?
because this is a private company that has nothing to do with the city, the council. We can't do anything about that, unfortunately. It's an unfortunate situation. I used to work in that line of work. I get it. I get your frustration. You know, to your point though, if you suggested that the city enter into doing that, how do you know that the city's insurance company would be a network? We don't. So we could be just exactly the same problem. And it would cost us about $1 million a year to take on doing private transports. You said at 1 run a day, your estimate, and I don't have any numbers to confirm this, but your estimate was making $900,000.
It's $910,000. If you take the $25,000,
Yep.
my bill was for almost $2,900. I just took the 25, I times 7. That's $17,500. Times it times 52. That makes $910,000. That's 1 run a day. There's no reason why they can't make a 3-hour trip to
I
Columbus.
did that job for 26 years. We had days where we did nothing, and we had days where we never stopped. The problem is if you have a day where you never stop, you still can only do so many runs in a row, because if your vehicle, because you cannot utilize the 911, so we'd have to buy another vehicle, hire more staff, and it would be, and I can tell you different communities do this. City of Westerville is one that I know that does this. They put on an extra unit, and they do this. City of Willard does something similar. We would have to have an extra vehicle, extra staff, and if you don't hire anybody, you're then paying additional overtime to your current people to call them in to do it. So it's truly cost prohibitive, but as I mentioned to you, we're having a town hall on February 11th, and we'll discuss it more, and I'll get the chief to give an answer to that, to your question about that. And then lastly, on your point about conflict of interest, the Ohio Revised Code, the Ohio Attorney General's Office already has things in place for that.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Mr. Reeves, did you say that 1 ambulance trip to Cleveland was $17,000?
It was $5,000, and luckily my wife's insurance company worked with us because it's at a network, and they dropped it to like $2,900 that I'm reliable to pay for myself, and it wasn't like it was an accident, it was an emergency and it involved a 13-year-old girl.
So what you're saying is you'd like to see the Bucyrus Fire Department look into possibly doing transport.
Correct.
In addition to 911?
Yeah, because the money's there. I know it's all based off of people being transported, but Bucyrus has a lot of old generation. The younger generation moved away. So there's going to be a lot of people that's going to be needed transferred to Columbus, because every time you go to a doctor here, they tell you got to go to Columbus or somewhere out of town to get better care. Now, if they did it twice, that's $35,000. That's $1,820,000 that they could make, and the fire department can almost fund themselves and build a new fire department.
Where did you go from the 5,000 to doing it twice equaling 35,000?
Okay, I based it off my bill that I gave you, it's $2,900. I gave it to them. They had to wipe off some personal information like my wife's birth certificate and all that, so they have a copy. If you take, I just averaged it at $2,500. That's a $2,900 bill. Okay, that's one. If you do one run a day, and that was to Cleveland, one run a day, and then times it times 7. That's $17,500 that the fire department could make if you could make it work. Now, if they did 2 trips, say something happened at night, something happened during the day, then you're looking almost at $2 million. And I know it's based off how patients are being sent to Columbus, but why are we letting an out-of-town ambulance service come here and take the revenue that Bucyrus needs so dearly to help our first responders?
To further answer, Avita is free as a private organization to contract with whomever they want. We couldn't force them to use us is another problem. They can contract with this company or any other company, and a company might come in and sign a sweetheart deal with them and say, use us all the time and we'll give you blank.
Well, that's fine, but you have a 13-year-old kid, have to sit from 8:30 Thursday afternoon to 3:30 p.m. the next day before you can even get an ambulance to transfer to Cleveland. And tell me why you would be frustrated.
I completely sympathize with you, I really do.
You know, I'm just looking for options for the city. I mean, we're gonna have to do something. You're gonna have to make some people upset, whether you like it or not. You're gonna have to step on toes, because obviously we're not getting no businesses to come here yet, because we're not becoming as one. When the council becomes as one, then once again we can believe, the cities in Bucyrus can believe in Bucyrus once again, like the one great mayor said. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public participation?
Good evening, Clarissa Slater, 3645 State Route 4. I'm not going to comment on the context of the things that were said, but I just would like to encourage individuals that have questions about the administration to maybe talk to the administration. I will agree that, I will state that I have been guilty of this myself, where I have brought concerns to council that probably should be talked to with Tommy and Bruce or someone in that department. And so I'm trying to make a better effort of understanding the roles of government. So anything that has deference or anything that has the ability to be referred to admin, I think that might stop some of the same concerns that people have about the comments on Facebook and the rhetoric. So that's my suggestion. I guess that's just a general suggestion. I do have a request again. I know I brought it up, and it seems to me that things always pop up, and it didn't seem to get referred. So I'm just asking again, if it doesn't go, that's fine. I would just like an answer on it. And to the gentleman that spoke previous to me, he also hit on it. So city or state law has ethics statutes that we have to follow as a city government. I'm asking, again, that a referral is made to basically set out terms of when it is okay to donate to the city, that be put on paper, and that the terms of the donation are placed. That wouldn't be a contract, that would just be some sort of written statement that states, if you're donating this, here's what you're donating, here's whatever you want to build on that. That's up to you guys. This would be your court. But I'm just asking that referral be made, because the last time I asked, I think it was just referred to as a specific issue and not the general issue. So if that's done, and then maybe you guys can discuss financially what would be required to show that some sort of financial gain isn't being made. That way this whole continuous back and forth of like, well, we can't prove that they're doing this. It would just be, hey, maybe when you go to file taxes, you have a a written notarized statement or affidavit that says so-and-so did not claim a benefit on their taxes, and then we can lay the whole thing to rest and we can move on. But that way we just don't keep doing the same thing over and over again, chasing our tails. So that's my suggestions. Thank you.
That's interesting. I mean, if I donate $100,000 to the city, I shouldn't be able to write that off?
You're not allowed to receive any benefit for a donation
As an elected official.
as an elected official.
But
That would be an incentive, and maybe that we should defer to the law director, but that's my layman's understanding of that.
would that be an incentive?
She is correct. If you donate something as an elected official, I don't think you can receive a tax credit for it, correct?
Really?
So you're not supposed to receive anything for it.
It's just supposed to be a one-sided just donation.
Now, anybody that's not an elected official does get a tax credit.
All right, you're gonna have to keep your money, okay? Can't give it away.
Do you want to see my tax return? Because I'll show it to you.
No, I don't want to, I'm saying, I think that level of, that way no one's having to look at your finances, and that's something that can be applied to anything that's been brought up, the controversy, the back and forth. I think this is a way forward for all of that, is that if whatever's being asked be done by their personal accountant, it's not being shared to you, it's not being shared to me, and they have a sworn affidavit that's notarized that says this is to be the facts. And then that way, no one can say otherwise. I mean, I guess it could go further, but it would be a good step in the right direction, I think.
I already told the auditor I would let her see my tax return to see that I wasn't claiming a tax
I promise you
deduction.
that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about the blowback, the after effect is what I'm talking about. The mudslinging and everything else. Let's just try to move forward from it. I made that statement, I think, 4 months ago, and I don't think it was followed through with, and it just went, that to be clear, that is moving forward, let's just do this. That's all. Thank you.
Any other public participation? Seeing none, we're going to move back to the minutes, and I also, this January 21 meeting, does anybody want to bring anything up about January 21 before I bring something up about January 21?
I do.
Yes.
I would like to know why, if this was a problem prior to council, we got an email saying, let's talk about it during council versus letting the person doing the minutes know what the problem could be. Why is this a stage instead of a place for us to get things done?
Do you have anything you want to bring up about the minutes?
Oh, so that is about the minutes, because that's, you literally emailed everybody saying that you had a problem with them, but you wouldn't say what that problem was, which created this to be a stage. Can we take care of it outside of it, and we'll go ahead and we'll pass the minutes by for the night?
Well, I'd like everybody to have their input. Do you have any input on the January 21 minutes? Ms. Sherrick? Vicki, do you have any input on them?
No?
Mr. Myers?
Haven't had time to review your video that you sent.
Any other members over there?
I haven't reviewed the video either.
Okay, so my concern was that the line here said Ellis stated that she understands the $4.25 raises for Ask Me employees and that they deserve more. I watched the video and I don't ever see her saying that they deserved more. She actually was, if you watch the whole thing in context, she was very concerned that the $4.25 raise was not a good idea. So my suggestion was that we could strike out just the words "and that they deserved more."
I did make a copy of the transcript of what Ms. Ellis said. And I will say, sometimes I've noticed these transcripts, if you read them as you're watching the video, they don't match up.
You mean the automatic where Facebook pulls up what you're saying?
Right, the YouTube.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. They don't match up sometimes.
So I know it says here, she goes, now about the $4.25 an hour raise for your AFSCME employees. I'm not going to argue that people should deserve or get more money, but when the company, the city of Bucyrus, is in the red, do you justify increasing your employee wages? Like I say, I mean, that's just the transcript.
Well, you kind of got to see the whole thing in context, and this, as it's written here in the draft minutes, I think it swings it the other way from what she was trying to say.
Okay, so what if you said, Ella stated that she understands the $4.25 raises for AFSCME. She understands the $4.25 raises for AFSCME employees. And that she's not going to argue that people should deserve or get more, but questions how the council can justify raises when the city is in the red. I mean, isn't that pretty much saying it?
The sentence that you exactly just said?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to amend as Vicky just read. If Miranda's that good enough for you to be able to go back and listen to her audio to type that out?
Yep, I can do that.
I'm fine with that.
All right. If, with that being the case, Mr. President, I would like to make a motion to approve the January 21st meeting minutes as we just corrected.
As amended.
Yeah, that's the word I went.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It passes, and then moving on to the January 30 special council meeting minutes. Does anybody have any questions on those? I'll motion to approve. Mr. Myers made the motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And it passes. Now we're going to move on to communications and petitions with this letter from the Bratwurst Festival Incorporated.
Mr. President,
Mr. Myers?
I don't know how you'll decide on this, but I was going to suggest it was addressed to the Health and Safety Committee. I would just like to refer that letter on to the Health and Safety Committee. I don't know that it's pertinent it be read this evening.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
It's a lengthy letter.
Okay, we're going to, Mr. Myers made a motion to refer the letter to Health and Safety.
For transparency, we could tell the public it's just their request for the street closures, which happens every year.
Is that emergency or no emergency?
No, that's
No,
why
it's
they
just
got
a
it to us this early.
It's a referral.
Yes.
Yeah, it needs to be referred.
So I'll make a motion to refer that letter and that topic to the Health and Safety Committee.
I second that.
Mr. Myers made the motion for the referral of the letter and the topic. Ms. Sherrick seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And moving on to standing committee reports. Plating Committee, Mr. Me.
February 12th, we're going to have a public hearing at 6 p.m. We're going to discuss BCO 1189.03, general resurfacing, BCO 1193.01, solar panels, amending BCO 1187 to add section 1187.021, ponds, then a resolution to rezone 316 and 320 Woodlawn from AR to R3 for accessory structures. End report.
Any questions for plating? Public Lands and Buildings, Chair, Ms. Sherrick.
Nothing at this time.
Any questions for Public Lands and Buildings? Health and Safety Chair, Mrs. DeShawn.
We're still awaiting draft legislation from Law Director Gobrick on, one, the food trucks. And just questioning again, are we still waiting to have the meeting between the law director, the mayor, the service safety director, and Mike Keefe, our zoning administrator, to review draft before giving to committee?
Yes, we have yet to have that meeting.
And that's fine, not a problem. Next, we're awaiting draft legislation on Chapter 505, Animals and Fowl. Still working on that?
Yes, I'm still confused as to what is being kept and what is not being kept, given that the police department has requested that we take out any changes that involve them. What else was there change? My confusion is because I didn't initially work on this, so I don't know what the changes were beyond the trash neuter and return program, which was stricken, and the changes involving the police department that the police department has requested that we not include.
Okay, have you read my email to you on January 22nd? To
I
you
have
as well
not.
as all the committee members? You have not?
I have not.
Okay, that, I think if you'll read that,
She answers all your questions today.
Excellent.
It's a pretty darn good email.
Good. You'll have to forgive me. I get a lot of emails.
okay, but yes, if you read that email, and if you have any questions, give me a holler.
Excellent.
Then next, legislation draft on Chapter 381, taxi cab on Chapter 381, taxi cab licensing. Our attention, though, is to the insurance requirements. Still working on that?
It's in my law director's report.
Oh, okay, great. Then we have on hold ordinance number 12-2023, which is the 6-man minimum fire department staffing. And again, that's on hold per the service safety director, Starner. We'll wait to hear from him as to when and if that ever, comes out of committee to talk some more about. We're also awaiting information on the appointment of Floyd Farmer, Steve Pfeiffer, and Ron Bors to the Property Maintenance Appeals Board. Have you heard anything, Miranda, from?
So I talked to Alyssa
Alyssa.
yesterday, actually. She's only heard back from Steve Pfeiffer, so we might have to consider looking to appoint 2 new members to that board.
Do you have any idea how she's been contacting them?
I believe by phone. They're
Okay.
Who are the two she hasn't heard from?
Floyd Farmer and Ron Bors.
yeah.
Okay. I'll do some
We
checking.
can call them
Yes,
tomorrow and ask
well,
if they've gotten the messages.
I'm calling Ron tomorrow anyhow on another issue, so I'll talk to Ron and I'll give Floyd a buzz then. That's fine. This Thursday at our committee meeting, we are going to be discussing peddlers and solicitors. There's been a number of Facebook posts. There was a group, I believe it was Bright Speed, that was going around in.
Relentlessly.
Yes. And so I have always made a practice and have stated that I watch or I read the Facebook posts, but I never respond to them. This was one time when I did respond because I wanted people to know that this is in our committee and what we're doing and when we're doing it and what have you. But yes, this definitely, we want to hopefully wrap up this Thursday as far as, we have the draft. The law director's already given it to us. You folks have had it for several weeks, probably maybe 4 weeks. So everybody on that health and safety committee, take a look at that draft and be ready on Thursday. That's the end of my report for health and safety.
Any questions for health and safety? Seeing none, Finance Committee Chair, Mr. Myers.
Just a reminder that the committee has scheduled a town hall at 6 p.m. on February 11th. We're hoping for attendance that is encouraging, where people can come in and have a positive conversation, not just to come in and say, don't do this. Well, come in with an idea. That's what we're looking for. Mr. Reeves, some of the things that you shared tonight. I hope you're able to come back to that. If not, I hope you'd shoot me a quick email with some of the things that you believe in. And that's what, to everybody in the community, if you're not able to be here and you have some ideas that you want talked about, please shoot me an email so that we can get those all out on the table. And that's the end of my report.
Any questions for Finance Committee? I seen the advertisement that went out for the Finance Committee special town hall. It didn't specifically mention any of the options the city may be looking at.
That's because we don't have options yet. That's the purpose of that meeting.
But there, just to be transparent to everybody out there, there was an email that went around internally with the city on how much would be generated with the out-of-town worker tax credit if it was to be modified. So just trying to be transparent with everybody.
Yeah, that question was asked before this meeting was ever scheduled.
Okay. Okay. Moving on then, Economic Development Committee Chairman, Mr. Hickman.
I had my meeting with the mayor, the service safety director, the auditor, and Sarah Hurley about the All Ohio Future Fund. As of right now, we're still in a discussion on what we can do with this, because there's some stipulations that either don't work or aren't clearly defined. And from what we were told during that meeting, no municipality has come to take this money yet. So it's all still there, which leaves the state having a possibility of softening some of the stipulations. Other than that, that's pretty much all that was discussed in production for the meeting. And that's all I have to report.
Any questions for Economic Development?
Yeah, do we have idea on how much money's there, or why aren't we qualifying, or is there some reason we... I wanted to go to the meeting, but I didn't make it.
I think there was 750 million in the pool that hasn't been taken out of yet, as of when we had the meeting, which was last Tuesday.
Is there any reason we don't qualify? Right off the top of your head, I know.
We really need some site-ready areas in order to qualify for that. They're wanting to build the buildings and things like that. They're not wanting to buy the land and put infrastructure in it, so.
There was
it's
also...
kind of
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
There was also questions about a clarification of what a site meant. Like, does it have to be ready to go, or can it just be an existing building that needs work? There's no clarification on what a site can be.
Okay. And so this funding is to rehab this building and we'll have so much time to move a business into that building.
Right now, it's a 5-year end user has to be cited.
So we have 5 years after we get it complete. After we get the building complete, we have 5 years.
And then we have to start paying it back if we don't.
We have to pay it back if that end user is never met.
Is that a city-owned building?
No, it can be sold at that point. But it's a city project. So the city has to own the land, has to get the land ready, and then from there on, it can be sold and moved up.
Okay.
So we have to have a business ready to go right now in order to start processing that, is what we've taken out of that. And we don't have that.
So you need an agreement for a business to go into there before we even get the funding or start it?
It's the way it's sounding, yes.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions for Economic Development? Seeing none. Service Committee, Mr. Moritz.
It appears that all the 900 chapters will be ready to present Thursday, we're hoping?
Probably.
Probably?
Probably.
High probability on that one, so hopefully we'll have it out there if it is. If not, then definitely next time we'll have it ready.
Any questions for Service Committee? Seeing none, Special Ad Hoc Committee for Rules of Procedure, Mrs. DeShawn.
As previously reported, the committee met on December the 17th, 2024, at which time the law director requested and the committee approved to pass the rules of procedure and 2 codified ordinance chapters over to Mr. Gobrick to start from scratch. Gobrick will prepare new drafts for the committee to review and discuss. And a reminder that Gobrick stated this is not something that will be done immediately. It is a big project that will take some time. End of my report.
Quick question.
Sure.
Do you want me to give them to you as I get each section finished, or do you want me to wait?
Oh, I think as you get each section finished would be great.
Okay.
And then send them to the committee, all the committee members.
Cool.
Great, thank you.
All right, though. I almost have one section done, so.
Wonderful.
Good deal.
Any other questions for Special Ad Hoc? Next, Special Ad Hoc for Property Maintenance, Mr. Me.
Special Ad Hoc for Property Maintenance is going to have a meeting on Thursday, February 13th at 4 p.m. And
Did we stick with 4?
we did, Miranda, 4. Majority of the members have indicated that they will be there, so.
I'll be late.
Whatever.
Is that the end of your report?
End of my report.
Any questions for the Special Ad Hoc Committee on Property Maintenance? Seeing none, Special Ad Hoc for Zoning Map, Mr. Me.
Special Ad Hoc for Zoning will be Tuesday, February 18th at 3:30. End of my report.
Any questions for that Special Ad Hoc Committee? Seeing none, Traffic Commission, since Mayor Church is not here, Service Director Starner. Any questions for Traffic Commission? Okay, then we need a motion to accept committee reports collectively.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Myers made the motion, Mr. Moritz seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Report of city officers, I do not see a mayor's report, so Safety Service Director, Mr. Starner.
Thank you, Mr. President. The time has come for our yearly material bid for the city. The current bid contract expires March 31st, 2025. I'd like to refer the material bids to the Service Committee and their consideration as an emergency. In 2026, ODOT will be paving a small portion of Route 4 within the city limits on the northern side. This will all need to be approved by council and allow them to continue with this project. I would like to refer this to Service and Finance Committee for further considerations.
Need a motion to make both referrals.
Second.
Miss Sherrick made the motion, Mr. Myers seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Referral has been made. Any questions for the Service Director?
I have a referral that I think maybe needs to be done. At our last council meeting, the Service Safety Director had referred the various farmland acreage that needs to go out to bids, but did not make reference to the approximate 21.9 acres along State Route 98, which adjoins the Othwaite Reservoir. So I think we want to make sure that's referred to the appropriate committee, so when the time comes that we do advertise for bids.
I missed that, Vicki.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yeah, I double checked what you had stated, and yeah.
That's referred to Public Lands and Buildings, right?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Mrs. DeShawn made the motion to refer, Mr. Myers seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes. Any other questions for the Service Director? moving on then to the law director, Mr. Gobrick.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have an amended law director report. I did not get this finished by the deadline to have it in the packet, so I included a skeleton report. Bear with me, it's a 15-page report. Everybody has a copy, and there's a bunch of copies out in the area out there. It was conveyed to me that there is a growing sentiment among the city that my simple and to-the-point answers to questions that I am asked has been noted as, quote, insufficient. Furthermore, it appears that the short and to-the-point answers to these questions allows for much speculations about what was not said. In an effort to rectify this, I have written a full legal brief on the following topics in hopes that they may be considered a, quote, sufficient, unquote, answer. Please bear with me as I read the entire thing. First on the list is Carolyn Shireman's remote attendance. Carolyn Shireman has requested that she be allowed to attend the meetings and vote via remote presence, and I've been asked to address this. Her current status, at the time of this writing, it is my understanding that Carolyn remains unindicted, but still on house arrest as part of her bond conditions in the municipal court. The law regarding remote attendance. The current law is, Ohio law currently states that, quote, a member of a public body shall be present in person at a meeting open to the public to be considered present or to vote at the meeting and for purposes of determining whether a quorum is present at the meeting, unquote. Revised Code, Section 121.22C. A public body is defined as, quote, any legislative authority or similar decision-making body of any county, township, municipal corporation, or the like, unquote. Revised Code 121.22B1A. There are exceptions to this in-person requirement. However, they do not apply to certain types of public bodies. Revised Code 715.693A, which states in pertinent part that, quote, the requirement in Division C of Section 121.22 of the revised code that a member of the public body be present in person at a meeting open to the public in order to be part of a quorum or to vote does not apply to the board of directors of a joint economic development zone created under Section 715.691 of the revised code, or a joint economic development review council created under Section 715.692 of the revised code, unquote. There has been some confusion about council meetings previously being conducted via remote presence. This was a temporary provision provided by the Governor Mike DeWine's many executive orders during COVID-19 and were not intended to be permanent. Therefore, due to the City Council being a public body under revised code section 121.22C and not fitting under any exceptions listed in revised code section 715.693A, it is my understanding that the current law does not allow for a City Council member to legally vote by remote presence. Subsection 2, imminent changes to the law. Having previously analyzed the law as it stands today, it should be noted that the relevant law regarding remote presence in public bodies is due to change on October 9th, 2025.
April 9th.
Yeah, April 9th. Thank you. April 9th, 2025. Subsection 2A. The law regarding the definition of what constitutes a public body remains unchanged. Furthermore, the requirement that a person appear in person to be considered present and be able to legally vote also remains unchanged pursuant to revised code section 121.22C. The statute is being amended to change the enumerated bodies that are covered by the exceptions provided in statute section 715.693 to include the board of directors of a joint economic development district. Therefore, the changes are irrelevant to the issues at hand. What's changing that's important is revised code section 121.221. The legislature has created a new statute that states in pertinent part that, quote, Members of a public body may hold and attend meetings and may conduct and attend hearings by means of video conference or any other similar electronic technology, unquote, if certain enumerated conditions are met. Furthermore, the definition of a public body remains the same as found in the Open Meetings Act Revised Code, Section 121.22B1A. The revised code, section 121.221, states that, quote, "The public body shall not hold hearings or meetings by means of video conference or any other similar electronic technology until the public body has adopted a policy that specifies at least all of the following," unquote, revised code section 121.221. These requirements are, quote, "that the public body shall provide notification of the meetings and hearings held under this section to the public, to the media that have requested notification of a meeting, and to the parties required to be notified of a hearing at least 72 hours in advance of the meeting or hearing by reasonable methods by which any person may determine the time, location, agenda of the meeting or hearing, and the manner by which the meeting or hearing will be conducted, except in the event of an emergency requiring immediate official action as defined by the policy. In the event of an emergency, the public body shall immediately notify the news media that have requested notification or the parties required to be notified of a hearing of the time, place, and purpose of the meeting or hearing. The public body shall provide the public access to a meeting held under this section and to any hearing held under this section that the public would otherwise be entitled to attend, commensurate with the method in which the meeting or hearing is being conducted, including, for example, live streaming by means of the internet, television, cable, or public access channels, or by means of any similar electronic technology. The public body shall ensure that the public can observe and hear discussions and deliberations of all members of the public body, whether a member is participating in person or electronically. Members of the public body shall have a sufficient internet connection or other electronic connection to allow the member to be seen and heard clearly and shall be visible at all times. All votes taken in the meeting or hearing shall be taken by roll call vote unless there is a motion for unanimous consent and the motion is not objected to by a member of the public body. If a vote is taken unanimously, the public body shall provide the public with information on how the members of the public body voted, including any members who abstained from voting. Any member of the public body who intends to attend a meeting by means of video conference or other similar electronic technology shall notify the chairperson of that intent not less than 48 hours before the meeting, except in case of an emergency as defined in the policy. No public body may hold, and no member of the public body may attend meetings or conduct and attend hearings by means of video conference or other similar electronic technology if any of the following apply. The meeting or hearing involves a vote to approve a major non-routine expenditure as defined in the public policy adopted by the public body under this section. The meeting or hearing involves a vote to approve a significant hiring decision as defined by that policy. The meeting or hearing involves a purpose to propose, approve, or vote on a tax issue or tax increase. Excluding expense reimbursements of members for actual expenses incurred while fulfilling their duties. The members of the public body are compensated for their position as members of the public body except when members are participating in a multi-party meeting if the multi-party meeting does not involve a vote to approve a major non-routine expenditure or significant hiring decision, or involve a purpose to propose, approve, or vote on a tax issue or increase. The members of the public body are elected by vote of the general public to their positions as a member, except when the members are participating in a multi-party meeting if the multi-party meeting does not involve a vote to approve a major non-routine expenditure or significant hiring decision, or involve a purpose to propose, approve, or vote on a tax issue or tax increase. Section F. If upon the notification of an upcoming meeting of a public body, and not later than 48 hours before the meeting, the greater of at least 10% of the members of the public body, or 2 members of the public body, notifies the chairperson of the public body that an item in the agenda must be acted upon at a meeting conducted fully in person upon the chairperson's acknowledgement of receipt of the notification. The public body shall take action on the item in the agenda only at a meeting conducted fully in person. The result of the following revised code, section 121.221B3 A through F, is that, quote, members of a public body who attend meetings or hearings by means of video conference or any other similar electronic technology shall be considered to be present as if in person at the meeting or hearing, shall be permitted to vote, and shall be counted for purposes of determining whether a quorum is present at the meeting or hearing, which, unquote, which means that members' attendance will be counted and voting shall be recorded, pursuant to Revised Code 121.221B2. However, Revised Code Section 121.2215A states, quote, no public body may hold and no member of a public body may attend meetings or conduct and attend hearings by means of video conference or other similar electronic technology if any of the following apply. 1, the meeting or hearing involves a vote to approve a major non-routine expenditure. 2, the meeting or hearing involves a vote to approve a significant hiring decision. 3, the meeting or hearing involves the purpose to approve a vote or tax increase, excluding expense reimbursements for actual expenses incurred while fulfilling their duties. The members of the public body are compensated for their position as members of the public body. The members of the public body are elected by the general public to their positions as members. The troubling subsection in the aforementioned section is Revised Code 121.2215A-V, which seems to state on its face that the members of the public body that are elected to their positions by the general public as, quote, members, unquote, may not take advantage of attending or holding meetings via remote presence. The word member is not defined in the statute, and there is no case law on this yet. Therefore, the council has 2 options. 1, follow the statutory intent, which is very plainly to allow the city council of a municipality to hold and or attend meetings via remote presence, or to follow the plain meaning of the statute, which reads prohibition on municipalities attending or holding meetings via remote presence. Ultimately, the intent of Revised Code 121.221 is to allow for members of a public body to attend a meeting of said public body via remote presence, so long as the provisions found in Revised Code 121.221B3 and the exceptions in Revised Code 121.2215A are not implicated. So in conclusion, it is currently not legal to have a council member attend a meeting via remote presence and have them be counted for purposes of quorum nor vote in an official capacity. However, this will change on April 9th, 2025, and the council is free to adopt a policy effectuating the option for remote presence. However, the council is also free not to adopt a policy on the matter as well. They're not required to. The second issue that I was asked to answer has to do with Facebook live stream comments. The controlling law is, for simplicity's sake, the overall controlling law is the First Amendment of the United States of America, which states in its entirety that, quote, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people to peacefully assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. This amendment applies to the various states in the Union as it was incorporated through the 14th Amendment in Gitlow versus New York. Due to a concept known as federalism, we must view the right to free speech on the federal level in conjunction with the Constitution of Ohio, which states in pertinent part, quote, "Every citizen may freely speak, write, and publish his sentiments on all subjects, being responsible for the abuse of that right, and no law shall be passed to restrain or abridge the liberty or speech or of the press." Ohio State Constitution, Article 1, Section 11. Any state is free to provide more protections to fundamental constitutional rights, but may not dip below the floor set by the Supreme Court of the United States on any given constitutional right. Because it is my opinion that turning off Facebook comments would dip below the floor put in place by the Supreme Court of the United States, the discussion on the body of free speech law developed by the state of Ohio and the relation therein to the body of free speech law developed by the federal system and the intricacies between the two will be omitted for brevity. Types of scrutiny. When considering whether the government may infringe on the freedom of speech, a court is obligated to use one of three different types of approaches known as levels of scrutiny, generally. The levels of scrutiny are rational basis, intermediate scrutiny, and strict scrutiny for our purposes. Only intermediate and strict scrutiny are relevant to the discussion at hand. The body of law regarding the types of scrutiny is circular at best and incredibly nuanced. Subsection I. Strict scrutiny. Strict scrutiny is applied when a government decides to try and regulate content-based speech. These regulations are always presumptively unconstitutional in the reviewing court's eyes. R.A. versus St. Paul. To be able to regulate content-based speech, the governmental entity must be able to show that regulating the speech is done in a way that is narrowly tailored to serve a compelling governmental interest in the least restrictive manner that's possible. The Barr versus the American Association of Political Consultants. Subsection 2A. Narrowly tailored and least restrictive means. Narrowly tailored is generally defined as approaching the speech you wish to regulate in light of less dramatic or less drastic measures. Meaning that if there is a less intrusive way to accomplish the same goal, then you must choose the less intrusive way. Americans for Prosperity Foundation versus Bonta. Quoting Shelton versus Tucker. The courts typically go out of their way to play devil's advocate in order to find a reasonable alternative. See generally Sable Communications of California versus the FCC. Subsection 2B. What is a compelling government interest? Deciding what a compelling government interest is has been simultaneously clarified and obscured in recent years. The general consensus is that the list of compelling governmental interests is theoretically finite. However, the enumeration of such interests remain a mystery. See generally Davis versus FEC. Ultimately, the courts typically look at the bedrock responsibilities contemplated for a governmental body and generally reserve those responsibilities, such as safety and welfare of the community, to be a compelling government interest. See Morse versus Frederick. However, as noted above, the courts typically go out of their way to find a less restrictive means to accomplish the compelling government interest. Therefore, the governmental body is usually always free to regulate calls to violence and the like. Subsection 2. Intermediate scrutiny. For our purposes detailed herein, courts will apply the intermediate scrutiny test whenever the governmental body attempts to regulate speech that is content neutral. See Craig versus Boren and Mahoning Education Association of Developmental Disabilities versus the state of Ohio. These regulations typically involve regulating the time, place, and manner of speech. Furthermore, the standard of intermediate scrutiny is different than strict scrutiny, only requiring an important governmental interest. See United States versus O'Brien. Finally, the manner in which the said regulation is applied must be substantially related to the important interest that the governmental body is trying to protect. Content neutral and substantially related manner. So, for a regulation to be considered content neutral, then the substance of the content must not be considered when regulating the content. See TikTok Incorporated versus Garland and United States versus O'Brien. In short, courts typically like to see governmental bodies' intent to regulate speech in a manner that pays no mind to the substance of the speech in question, but only serves to regulate the said speech in a time, place, and manner fashion. For purposes of defining substantially related manner, this means that there must be a significant relationship between the important governmental interest and the regulation in question. See Holder versus Humanitarian Law Project. Ultimately, this is going to mean that the government body is going to have to tie the substance of the regulation in question to the important governmental interest, meaning that the two simply can't be tangentially related. An important governmental interest. An important governmental interest is substantially different than a compelling government interest, in that the compelling governmental interest relies on the bedrock responsibilities of the governmental body, while important governmental interests rely on what the governmental body ought to be responsible for. See generally Turner Broad Systems versus FCC. But there is a curveball in the courts. The courts have grown savvy to governmental bodies that try to be clever in claiming that their regulation of speech is content neutral, thus triggering intermediate scrutiny, while actually being content specific, which should trigger strict scrutiny. See TikTok Incorporated versus Garland. The crux of this analysis is whether the governmental body can argue in good faith that the speech being regulated is necessary to serve an important governmental interest without actually mentioning any of the content of the speech therein. See City of Austin versus Reagan National Advisors of Austin, and Reed versus Town of Gilbert. In conclusion, ultimately disabling Facebook comments in general would likely trigger intermediate scrutiny. However, the city would have to explain what the important governmental interest would be served by doing so. Further, it is very dubious that the city would be able to articulate an important governmental interest that is significantly related to a content-neutral regulation without mentioning the content of the Facebook comments and the rationale for explaining why it would be an important governmental interest. Finally, I highly doubt that any court would play along with the theory that this was content neutral when taken in conjunction with the previous comments made on the record regarding the substance and content of the Facebook question or comments. The third issue is the taxi cab legislation. I've been asked to clarify some of the confusion regarding the taxi cab legislation. This is a very confusing area of law. The difference in amount of required insurance hinges on whether a taxi cab company is operating as a traditional taxi cab company or as a transportation network company. The confusion lies in that a taxi cab company may operate as one or the other, or as simultaneously in specific circumstances. However, while a traditional taxi cab company may operate as a transportation network company some of the time, a transportation network company may not act as a traditional taxi cab company any of the time. So what is a transportation network company? It's defined as, quote, a corporation, partnership, association, limited liability company, proprietorship, or any other entity operating in this state that uses a digital network to connect the transportation network company riders to transportation network company drivers who provide transportation network company services, unquote. See Revised Code 3942.01F. A digital network is further defined as, quote, any online enabled application, software, website, or system offered or utilized by a transportation network company that enables the prearrangement of rides with transportation network company drivers, unquote. Revised Code 3942.01C. So what are the insurance requirements for a transportation network company? Ohio law seems to provide for two separate policies to apply in cases where the transportation network is sitting waiting for company or consumers versus when actually engaged in transportation, as found in Revised Code 3942.02, Section 2, A through B, which reads, the primary automobile insurance policy required by Division A1 of this section shall meet the following coverage requirements. A, while the transportation network company driver is logged on to the transportation network company's digital network and is available to receive transportation requests, but is not engaged in transportation network company services, primary automobile insurance shall be maintained in the following amounts. 1, at least $50,000 because of bodily injury or death of one person in any one accident. 2, at least $100,000 because of bodily injury or death of two or more persons in any one accident. And 3, while at least $25,000 because of injury to property or of others in any one accident. Section B of that statute says, while the transportation network company driver is engaged in transportation network company services, primary automobile insurance shall be maintained in an amount of at least $1 million because the bodily injury or death of one or more persons or injury to property of others in any one accident. Therefore, it can be reasonably stated that for any practical engagement of services as a driver for a transportation network company, the required insurance is an amount of $1 million. However, traditional taxi cab services are different. Taxi cab companies offering traditional taxi cab services are generally accepted to be hired through either hailing on the streets or through a phone call. Taxi cab companies that are operating as a transportation network company are obligated to follow the $1 million insurance policy applicable to the transportation network companies. However, those that are not engaged in the transportation network company services are exempt from this requirement in Revised Code 3942.02F. Those taxi cab companies that are offering traditional taxi cab services are liable for the standard amount of liability insurance found in Revised Code 4509.51B. Ultimately, it'll be up to the City of Bucyrus to discover whether the taxi cab in question is acting as a transportation network company or driver therein, or as a traditional taxi cab company. This should be relatively easy because any transportation network company must pull a permit through PUCO. See Revised Code 4925.02. If the taxi cab company is working as a transportation network company or driver therein, then municipalities are preempted from regulating this. Revised Code 4925.02, which says that the state has the jurisdiction to regulate them. However, under the home rule provisions of this state, municipalities are free to regulate an increased amount of the standard insurance coverage for traditional taxi cab companies. See Taxi Put-in-Bay versus Village of Put-in-Bay. Section 4, the fourth thing is referrals. As previously mentioned, I would like to refer the topic of the remote presence policy to committee. However, I do believe an ad hoc committee would be needed to be created, as the rules of procedure ad hoc is not expansive enough to cover this policy, and I don't think any of those committees cover it. Furthermore, I would like to refer the creation of the Utility Service Superintendent to the Service Committee for review. A copy of the job description will be provided on Thursday at the committee meetings. Section 5 is my conclusion. In a short and clear summation of the foregoing analysis, a sitting council member may not attend a meeting via remote presence in their official capacity. We are likely unable to survive a challenge if we turn off the Facebook comments. We can legislate the insurance coverage of taxi cabs as long as they are traditional taxi cab companies. And finally, if the foregoing is seen as an insufficient answer, I would more than happily supplement the analysis, as there is substantially more to discuss on these topics. Despite this report taking me a substantial amount of time to prepare, I intend to have at least some of the work done for the committee meetings. Thank you, Mr. President. That is my report.
Any questions for the law director? Is this taxi cab thing still in committee? Have you reached out to the Ohio Municipal League about this, about the Facebook comments?
I have not.
I'm wondering if
I reached out to-
this has had to have come up before.
There is no
somewhere.
case law. There are other municipalities that do it. However, my opinion is that we wouldn't survive a challenge. However, that is my opinion, and opinions may vary.
I understand your opinion, but, I mean, we're allowed to regulate the audience here. They can't just start talking at any time in the middle of this meeting, so.
Well, see, that is different. However, in my report, the content-based regulation would be Facebook comment moderation, which would cover strict scrutiny, which is that, like, you're perfectly allowed to regulate calls to violence, beyond the pale obscenity and vulgarity, but
There was a Facebook comment that was violence-based that was made on the city's Facebook page towards somebody sitting in that audience.
and we should have absolutely moderated that. And would be
What
well
does the
within our
word
rights to do so.
Tangentially mean?
Tangentially is like connected but one place removed. So when you go off on a tangent, basically you're just going that way.
In this utility service superintendent, is that gonna be a union position or a non-union?
And it's intended to be a non-union position.
Okay, we need a motion to refer the utility superintendent to service committee?
So moved.
Doesn't finance committee do the manpower though? And it would be in the manpower ordinance.
I would suggest we go to both committees, finance and service.
Finance and service. Need a motion?
So moved.
And a second? Mr. Myers made the motion. Was it Mr. Hickman that seconded? Mr. Hickman did second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any last questions for the law director? Oh, did we want to refer this remote attendance thing?
What, I have a question. Why would that not be covered under the rules, especially seeing as they're being rewritten?
So it's because this is a separate policy that council has to adopt. It's not in the rules. The statute specifically says that it has to be a separate policy, not in the rules.
Can we add that to the ad hoc, what it can be done through that ad hoc?
I don't think that the rules of procedure ad hoc, which is limited specifically to the rules of procedure, is sufficiently broad enough to handle this.
Could we vote to broaden?
That's what I was asking.
To
I don't see
encompass
why not.
more things?
Absolutely.
And then Vicky can start having meetings again with this special ad hoc committee because they haven't met in a while.
Absolutely.
Well, we haven't met for a while because we don't have anything to meet and discuss yet.
Well, we're going to give you that right now. So
Well, there just was no reason for you to
Right.
make that comment.
I would like to entertain a motion to broaden the scope of the special ad hoc committee for rules of procedure to also encompass the remote video conferencing.
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Sherrick has made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Moritz has seconded it. Is there any discussion? We will now proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Opposed.
It passes. Okay, moving on. There is no auditor's report. Nope, no auditor's report. No treasurer's report. There is something from the police chief here. He has a December 2024 police department monthly report. Is this going to be a new thing now? We're going to have monthly reports from the police? So, since he's not here,
I'll make a motion to accept the progress report.
Second.
Ms. Sherrick has made a motion to accept a file. Mr. Myers seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And no fire chief report. Need a motion to accept the city officer's report.
So moved.
Ms. Sherrick made the motion. Mr. Hickman, wait, what were you pointing at?
Hickman.
Mr. Hickman made the motion?
No, he was the second.
Okay, Ms. Sherrick made the motion. Mr. Hickman seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Visitors' input regarding reports of standing / special committees and of city officers. Is there any visitors' input?
All right. Logan Beeman, Freewire. Ladies and gentlemen.
You gotta state your address.
Do not, actually. Members of the media don't have to, I've been told.
Right.
Is this true, Mr. Gilbert?
Just-
That is true.
Just like a cop or a worker in a prison, they do not give out their addresses for safety concerns.
I need to learn how to become a member of the media then myself.
There you go. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, fellow citizens, I stand before you today not to defend Carolyn Shireman, not to endorse her, and certainly not to excuse the chaos she has sown in the community. No, I stand to defend the truth, rule of law, and the right of the people to choose their leaders, no matter how misguided those choices of those people may be. We have heard it said over and over that Carolyn cannot run, that a felony disqualifies her, that her time in politics is over, and maybe morally and ethically that is the case, but legally it is not. I've spoken to Mr. Gobrick, and he assures me that a felony does not actually disqualify her, even if she was convicted. And we don't know if she actually wants to run. She did declare her candidacy. We do know that she has complained that she can't get her signatures because she can't leave home. But that is a roadblock. That is not an excuse. Plenty of other people have had others collect signatures for them. It's perfectly legal, perfectly normal. Frankly, it's pretty easy. If Carolyn wants to run, that is a problem that we can solve. Now let's talk about priorities. I know I'm kind of just piggybacking off of what you said, Mr. Sean, but Carolyn had no problem asking the judge for permission to see her doctor, but she never once asked for permission to attend a council meeting, not once. So what are we supposed to conclude? That seeing her doctor is more important than serving the people who elected her, these constituents that she continually brings up? That she wants all the privileges of power without any of the responsibilities? That she wants to throw stones from the comfort of her own home while everyone else does the hard work of governing? And now here we are. She has just under 20 hours to finish collecting signatures and submit her petition. And let me say this, if she truly believes in her cause, if she truly believes she has a message worth fighting for, then Carolyn, you should finish what you started. Carolyn, if you're listening, have a friend collect your signatures, and I will personally take the petition to the Board of Elections myself. Because let's be honest, this isn't about whether Carolyn should win. She won't. This is about whether she should be allowed to lose fair and square. If we block her, if we find some bureaucratic excuse to keep her off the ballot, then for the rest of her life, she will claim that she was silenced, that the system was rigged against her, that she was the lone voice of truth, and she was crushed under the weight of corruption. And the sad part is to some tiny degree, she would be right. So I say let her run, let the people decide, and when the votes are counted and the results are clear, we can let this town finally move on from the circus that is Carolyn Shireman. Because that's what democracy is. It's not about picking winners and losers in a backroom deal. It's not about silencing people we disagree with. It's about letting the people have their say, even when we know exactly what they're going to say. So let's close this chapter, let her run, let her lose, and let's get back to governing.
Any other public participation?
Right that off 210 Ethel Street. I believe Vicki Deshawn made a comment that she had made a comment on Facebook. I want to apologize to Vicki because I was on Facebook one night and I noticed some people were commenting about the solicitors being out late at night, and I tagged Vicki knowing that she knew what was going on because I knew we had a discussion about solicitors and the times and the days, and I tagged Vicki, and I want to also thank her for coming on and setting everybody straight. Thank you.
Greg White, 1125 Hillcrest Drive. I'd like to ask the Service Safety Director, what's going on with this money that's being out of the water fund, $1.7 million? What's going on with this?
You can ask.
Was that?
You can ask.
So is we missing $1.7 million? Is there not $1.7 million? Or what is the, because the press release wasn't very clear. I think the residents need to know what's really going on with the water fund.
Yeah, there's a deficit. We had to make some changes and some cuts. So.
How much money was it?
The exact number I do not know.
I mean, just throw a ballpark out there. I mean, was it over $1 million?
Sure. I'm not saying an exact number or any number.
Don't you think the people of the city need to know what's going on instead of a very vague press release? Okay, thank you.
Brian Reeves, 900 Southeast Street. About the solicitor problem, they are coming to people's house 7, 8 o'clock at night. I call it a bribe. They're offering $250 for a gift card to switch. Plus, I wanted to ask the council, are they aware of the AEP hike that's fixing to happen, that's going into effect already? It's 1% every month for 3 years. It's a total of 36% rate. How I found out was through a solicitor. I was looking into solar panels, and we went to the spiel, and my electric bill right now is $250. Within 3 years, it's going to be $580. With the AEP, way I understand it on their website, they're saying it's to repair the poles, the lines, and all that stuff. Is the city looking into maybe going to AEP and see if we can get a cheaper rate to try to help out on the rate of the interest?
We already do that through our aggregation plan.
Well, I was just wondering, because I've never heard it in the year and 2 months that this council's been here that it's been brought up.
Yeah, it was passed, I believe, in 2016, if I remember the year right. It was put forth to the voters of the public to join the aggregation program that would be administered through his office.
Yeah, it's still in effect. You should get a letter from AEP.
And one other thing, about the raises, if all people, Miranda deserves one. She puts up with it a lot. Thanks for listening.
Any other public participation? Seeing none. Anybody feel like a recess? I kind of feel like a recess.
What exactly?
Restroom break recess. I'd like to call recess at 8:34 for 5 minutes. Meeting back to order at 8:39 PM. We're back from recess. We're going to move on to consideration of proposed legislation for the first time.
Proposed ordinance number 7-2025, it's the reimbursements. Reimbursing sufficient monies in the amount of 20% from the sewage disposal fund, 20% from the waterworks fund, 20% from the solid waste management fund, and 20% from the stormwater utility fund for the benefit of the city's general fund to defray 2024 operation costs of the City of Bucyrus municipal offices, and authorizing and directing the city auditor to draw thereupon and declaring an emergency. Proposed ordinance 8-2025, that's appropriations for the reimbursements. Amending and supplementing ordinance number 40-2024, being the annual appropriations ordinance for 2025, being appropriating from unappropriated solid waste management funds the sum of $541.69 to the other uses line item within the solid waste management administration category within the solid waste management subparagraph, and declaring an emergency. Ordinance number 9-2025, it's transfers for the reimbursements. Amending and supplementing ordinance number 40-2024, being the annual appropriations ordinance for 2025 by decreasing the current balance in the personal services line item by $2,541.69 within the waterworks administration category within the waterworks subparagraph, and increasing the current balance in the other uses line item by $2,541.69 within the waterworks administration category within the waterworks subparagraph, and declaring an emergency. Proposed ordinance 10-2025, it's Bucyrus Codified Ordinance, Chapter 704, Medical. An ordinance amending and supplementing Part 7 of the Bucyrus City Ordinances and creating Chapter 704, entitled State Licensed Medical Marijuana Cultivators, Processors, Retail Dispensaries, and Testing Laboratories, under Part 7 entitled Business Regulation Code of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Bucyrus, Ohio. Ordinance 11-2025, it's Bucyrus Codified Ordinance, Chapter 705, Adult Use. An ordinance amending and supplementing Part 7 of the Bucyrus City Ordinances and creating Chapter 705 entitled State Licensed Adult Use Marijuana Cultivators, Processors, Retail Dispensaries, and Testing Laboratories, under Part 7 entitled Business Regulation Code of the Business Regulation Code of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Bucyrus, Ohio.
I need a motion to accept those as the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Sherrick made the motion, Mr. Moritz seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any member of the general public may present their input or comments on legislation that's been read for the first time. Seeing none. Moving on, consideration of proposed legislation for the second time.
Proposed ordinance 4-2025, it's Bucyrus Codified Ordinance, Section 905.01, Sidewalks. An ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 905 of the Bucyrus Codified Ordinances entitled Sidewalks under Section 905.01, entitled Notification, Discovery, and Written Notice of the City of Bucyrus, Ohio. Ordinance number 5-2025 is the appointment of auditor to Board of Control. Amending and supplementing Title V of the Bucyrus Codified Ordinances entitled Administrative, and establishing Chapter 131 entitled Control Board Composition of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Bucyrus, Ohio.
Need a motion to accept as a second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Sherrick made the motion, Mr. Moritz seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I abstain.
Why? Public participation, any member of the general public may present their input or comments on legislation that's been read for the second time. Seeing none, consideration of proposed legislation for the final time.
Proposed Resolution 243-2024, it's amending Resolution number 202-2024. Amending Resolution number 202-2024, appointing Miranda G. Wise to fill the position of Bucyrus Council Clerk on a full-time 40-hour-per-week basis from January 1, 2025 through December 31st, 2025 at an hourly figure of $25.25, together with the available health insurance and sick leave entitlements, etc., for all non-union, non-elective, full-time, 40-hour-per-week city employees. Further, the clerk's 40-hour per week shall include her attendance at all regularly scheduled and specially called council meetings and regularly scheduled and specially called committee meetings. Further, the clerk shall be paid compensation of 1 1/2 times the basic hourly rate for the hours worked over 40 hours when authorized by the council president. Said appointment commencing retroactively to January 1st, 2025.
Need a motion to accept as a final reading.
So moved.
Mr. Myers made the motion. Was it Ms. Sherrick? Ms. Sherrick seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
It still passes. Public participation. Any member of the general public may present their input or comments on legislation that's been read for the final time.
Greg White, 1125 Hillcrest Drive. We do not need to be giving any more pay raises right now. We don't even know the situation of the finance until the town hall meeting and when things can get discussed. I can't understand why we're still doling out pay raises, and especially $1 for a thank you. I think this is going to open up a lot of can of worms that this council does not want to go down right now. So I'm asking that you either table this or turn it down. Thank you.
Any other public participation?
Mr. President,
Mr. Myers?
I would like to make a motion to table proposed resolution 243, 2024 until our next meeting, until after the town hall meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second that. We need to have that meeting.
Mr. Myers has made the motion to table Resolution 243-2024. Mr. Moritz has seconded. Is there any discussion? We're going to have a roll call vote on the tabling.
Myers?
Yes.
DeShawn?
Yes.
Shireman is absent. Moritz?
Yes.
Sherrick?
No.
Hickman?
Yes.
Me.
No.
So there is 4 votes to table, 2 votes not to table, so the 243-2024 is tabled. Moving on, refer back to originating committee. Ordinance 4-2025 is referred back to plating. Ordinance 5-2025 is referred back to service. Ordinance 7-2025 is referred back to finance. Ordinance 8-2025 is referred back to finance. Ordinance 9-2025 is referred back to finance. Ordinance 10-2025 is referred back to health and safety. Ordinance 11-2025 is referred back to health and safety. Plating committee.
Proposed ordinance 4-2025 BCO section 905.01 sidewalks is favorable.
Service committee.
Proposed ordinance 5-2025, appointment of auditor to Board of Control is in favor, services in favor.
Finance.
Finance is favorable to proposed ordinance 7-2025. Finance is favorable to proposed ordinance 8-2025. And Finance is favorable to proposed ordinance 9-2025.
Health and safety.
Health and safety is favorable to proposed ordinance 10-2025, which is creating Bucyrus Codified Ordinance Chapter 704, medical marijuana. Health and safety is favorable to proposed ordinance 11-2025 for creating Bucyrus Codified Ordinance Chapter 705, adult use marijuana.
Further consideration of pending legislation for the second and third reading of proposed ordinance 7-2025. Do I hear a motion to suspend the rules, waive the reading of the caption and text, and declare an emergency?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Sherrick made the motion, Mr. Hickman seconded.
Sherrick?
Yes.
Hickman?
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
Myers?
No.
DeShawn?
Yes.
Shireman is absent. Moritz?
Yes.
Okay, so there was 5 yes votes and 1 no vote. We need 6 to waive the second and, or wait a minute. You're right, I'm totally forget what I just said.
It didn't pass.
It
was held at first reading.
Yeah, it's held to the first reading due to not getting the 6 votes required. Okay, next one, for the second and third reading of proposed ordinance 8-2025, do I hear a motion to suspend the rules, waive the reading of the caption and text, and declare an emergency?
I have a question. Can we do the appropriations without the reimbursements?
That's a question for the auditor.
It doesn't make much sense to appropriate what hasn't been reimbursed.
Like, if the money's not there, you can't appropriate it. So I think this one's kind of held.
So we should table this one too, then.
Because of the last one.
Proposed ordinance 8 is just moving money within solid waste. It's not,
Oh, okay.
It's not from those reimbursements previously? Because it,
by what I'm reading, it says right here that you are appropriating from the solid waste management funds $541 to the other. So she's just moving money to a different line within that fund, and then the same thing can be said for ordinance number 9.
You are correct.
So with that being said, I'm still waiting on a motion.
then so moved.
Second.
Ms. Sherrick has made the motion, Mr. Moritz seconded.
Sherrick?
Yes.
Moritz?
Yes.
Hickman?
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
DeShawn?
Yes.
And Shireman is absent.
Okay, do I hear a motion to adopt proposed ordinance 8-2025?
So moved.
Second.
Was that Sherrick made it?
1, 2.
Ms. Sherrick made the motion, Mr. Moritz seconded.
Sherrick?
Yes.
Moritz?
Yes.
Hickman?
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
Myers? DeShawn?
Yes.
And Shireman is absent.
Ordinance 8-2025 is duly adopted. For the second and third reading of proposed ordinance 9-2025, do I hear a motion to suspend the rules, waive the reading of the caption and text, and declare an emergency?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Sherrick made the motion, Mr. Hickman seconded.
Sherrick?
Yes.
Hickman?
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
DeShawn?
Yes.
Shireman is absent. Moritz?
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to adopt proposed ordinance 9-2025?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Hickman made the motion, Ms. Sherrick seconded.
Hickman?
Yes.
Sherrick?
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
DeShawn?
Yes.
Shireman is absent. Moritz?
Yes.
Ordinance 9-2025 is duly adopted. The other one's tabled. Old and unfinished business. I have some here, subcommittee appointments. And there has been some subcommittees that a seat has opened up on due to Mrs. Shireman resigning from all the committees. We have the Crawford County Family and Children First. Mrs. Shireman's term that ends at the end of 2025. That one, does anybody want to volunteer for that, to be on that?
I was on it previously.
Okay, Ms. Sherrick has volunteered to fill Mrs. Shireman's seat on the Crawford County Family and Children First through the end of 2025, through December 31st, 2025.
You have them for.
Yeah, somebody want to make a motion?
Can I just suggest you do them all collectively?
Okay, yeah, we'll move on then. The Crawford Park District, there is a term that also ends in December 31st, 2025. Does anybody want to volunteer for that one?
We only have one person that has to be there, and Mr. Hickman's been doing that. He's been going to meetings.
Oh, so we don't want to fill it?
No, we can
Don't
fill it
have to.
with Mr. Hickman and.
Well, he's the other one. There's two people already on.
Yeah, because we only had to have one to begin with.
So that one never needed the second one. Volunteer Firefighters Dependents Fund Board. There's a term that,
That expired last
that one
year.
actually did expire at the end of 2024, so it's a one-year term. We would need to appoint, anybody want to volunteer for that one?
When do they meet, do we know?
They have not met in the time that I've been on council.
So they haven't met in like 8 years.
That's wondering that same thing. I'm like,
I'll throw my name on that line, just to have a name on it.
Okay, Mr. Myers has volunteered for that one. Bucyrus Trails Committee, that has a term that ends December 31st, 2025, and there's 2 seats on it. Mr. Hickman's one, Mrs. Shireman was the other.
I'm interested in if nobody else wants it. If that's all right with you, Ray.
Plenty all right, thank you.
So Mr. Thitoff has endorsed Mr. Hickman, or not Mr. Hickman, Mr. Myers.
The other long hair.
So, for the Bucyrus Trails Committee, so that leaves us with, that's all that I have here. Was there any other ones that you, any other subcommittees that I missed, Vicki?
Well, I don't have anything in front of me, so I'm not going to respond
seems
to
like there should be
that.
more than that.
Well, there's other ones, but Carolyn was only on those ones.
Oh, okay. Just got to see the ones.
And I don't see any other ones here that
I'll
say that
move
they.
to approve your list collectively.
I'm on a lot
I'll
of.
second that.
Mr. Myers has made the motion, Ms. Sherrick seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That takes care of that. Other old and unfinished business. I can report that the cameras are offline at all the parks. So it's actually a security concern right now. If there's vandalism and stuff would happen, there's nothing out there. So hope something bad doesn't happen.
Well, I was going to say, let's just not
Let's
talk
stop
about
that
it.
now. That's ridiculous.
Moving on.
I have something.
Oh, yes, Mrs. DeShawn.
I wanted to check with Mrs. Slater. You were asking about a referral on donations. That is, someone donating to the city. You wouldn't mind sort of explaining that a little more? I'm trying to figure out where we want to refer that to.
Yeah, I was suggesting, I would assume that it might be under service, but I don't know. I was stating that, because it's a donation, so I don't know. But
You think it would be under service?
I don't.
I was stating that there would.
Financial.
Oh, financial? Okay. But it's not actually but is it always
It's not
financial?
expenditures of city money, though.
I was
Right.
also thinking services were donated, so. If no,
But it depends on what the service is. It could go into any committee.
That could be building, could be,
would it be ad hoc?
Would it fall under economic
111?
development the way that appointments fell in? I'm just trying to think.
Would this be under the rules for the city
Yeah.
employees, city officials? Which was a whole
And if so, is that a
can of
council thing or is
worms.
that an administrative thing?
But it would
The
be both.
administration was rewriting that when Vicky was here, and it stopped and didn't go any further.
But
And
it's
then
not
just
just-
before Ratliff left, he brought it back up, and then it stopped.
Now, who are you suggesting this apply to?
Elected city officials.
Elected city officials, so that wouldn't be.
Or elected city
Administration.
officials or
Huh?
elected positions. So it
So
wouldn't
that
matter if
wouldn't
you're
be an
admin or
administrative.
Well, we're
legislative.
still employees.
We're still employees of the city.
It could be all employees.
all employees,
Yeah,
yeah. That- it
I
should
would
be
worry about,
reworded to all employees.
But laws are
Reword it to
pretty,
all employees, then it would be an administrative thing.
but it's pretty delineated though. Like
It is very delineated.
Why don't we just follow what the state law already is?
to prevent the chaos ensuing again.
Well-
There's been more than one situation where this has happened.
Quite a
There's been
few
All right,
situations.
so there's three things that you can donate, and that's money, that's services,
Oh.
and that's real estate. So, well, that would be part of services. So that would be going to finance, service, and public lands.
It's your guys' call.
Because Clarissa is correct, it is very delineated between elected officials and people employed by the city in an administrative function. But ultimately, it's up to you guys.
You could make an ordinance that any donation by anybody, you have to get an opinion from the Ethics Commission first.
Well, I think that's what she was saying was after the Ethics Commission approved it, then that's what she's looking for us to have a policy that says there's a contract in place. Since there seems to be a lot of confusion on what committee, how about we, I'll suggest this, why don't we create an ad hoc committee of the 6 of us that are here now to serve on that? And just, I think we can take care of that in 1 or 2 meetings.
You want all 6 on the ad hoc?
Yeah, because it's all of us.
What are you thinking, Mr. Gobert?
Or does that violate the council open meeting?
I was gonna say, that's the question.
Do you have a quorum of council members?
Well, you have a quorum of council members and committees as well. I think it wouldn't count as having a council meeting as long as Carolyn wasn't here. And since she's not gonna be on the ad hoc, then it's not a problem.
Listen, you want to create another ad hoc?
I don't wanna commit, I don't
It
wanna
was just a
create another
suggestion.
ad hoc.
Y'all vote and decided. I think it's confusing which committee we're looking at. It takes the confusion out of it.
What about council as a whole?
We can do that. We can decide it
We've
as a
done council as
council.
a whole before.
Yeah, it doesn't have to go to a committee.
When do we debate?
In a regular council meeting, it can be debated.
It would just be on the agenda.
You know what time it is now?
I enjoy being here.
Would it be a special meeting or?
No, I think just.
It would just be a regular committee, or regular council meeting.
Regular council?
Now, you could call a special council meeting and only that subject could be discussed.
I prefer that if that's the route we're gonna take.
Yes,
That's what I'm thinking.
yeah, we're doing that, yeah.
Sure. That would work.
I'm not in favor of another ad hoc, I know that.
I was gonna make you the chair of it.
Did anyone have those answers that are sufficient?
Okay, so we'll just, at some point, call a special council meeting.
All right.
Any other old and unfinished business? New and miscellaneous business.
I got 2 things I'd like to refer. One is chapter 137 of the BCO to the service committee. And the other one, I think might already be considered an open project, but I'm gonna refer it again in a different wording so that we're good to talk about it. Employees, pay, and other budget items to finance. That's to cover the town hall essentially, to be able to discuss everything openly and freely.
And Kevin, may I ask what Bucyrus Codified Ordinance, Chapter 137 deals with?
Yeah, the airport commission.
Airport Commission. Thank you.
What was the other one?
Pay and, employee pay and budgetary items. And that's just to make sure that we're okay to discuss it all at the town hall.
What's the airport commission? Where do you think it's going with that?
I'll share all that Thursday night. Service.
So we need a motion to make those referrals. 137 BCO to Service Committee and Employee Pay and
I did
Budget
make the
Finance
motion.
to Finance.
Second.
Was it Ms. Sherrick made the motion?
No, I
Mr.
didn't.
Myers did.
Oh, Mr. Myers made the motion, Mr. Me seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any other new business?
Mr. Myers, that gonna be for this Thursday for the service? Yeah, we'll talk about that in.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good, Randy, got one for me.
No other new business? Oh. Can we make an ordinance that, you know, this thing where like if you're absent unexcused from a regular council meeting, your pay can be docked, but that doesn't apply to the committee meetings. Can we make an ordinance that makes it to where we can dock pay for absences on the committee meetings? For the regular committee meetings?
That's a good question. I can look into that.
Because I think there's some people that have came up and seems like the public
That's
wants
something that
that.
we can look into.
And if so, would that be a part of the rules?
That would be part of the rules. I know that committees are not required to serve on council, so there may be an issue there, but it's something I can look into.
Well, I thought I had looked into it once, and it might be a situation where the only way we could do that is if we were a charter city. But you can look into
I
it.
was gonna say, that would make sense if we were a charter city.
Because then we can do whatever we want if we're a charter city.
Pretty much. Comes with a lot of headache, though.
Okay, any other new business? Just let everybody know that anybody running for office as a partisan candidate, those petitions are due tomorrow at 4 p.m. at the Board of Elections. So if anybody wants to...
By 4.
Anybody wants to come up here and get on this side of the railing, you can go out and get your petitions.
Vicky.
So, there's still time, Vicki.
I was gonna say,
Your public has spoken.
I'll sign it.
I'll be the first one to sign your petition,
I will not sign it because I'll mess
Vicky.
you up.
Vicki, I might even help circulate a petition for you.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
you would have no problems getting the 50 required. Yeah, in like 10 minutes.
Thank you, but no thank you.
All right, she's spoken.
Okay, then I need a motion to excuse the absence of Councilwoman Shireman. Seeing no motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Well, we got referrals.
Oh, sorry, I tried to rush it.
I understand that, though.
Yeah, I'll hold on to that for a minute.
We have material bids to service, ODOT State Route 4 North for service and finance, Bratwurst Fest letter regarding street closures to health and safety, State Route 98 for farmland bids to public lands and buildings, utility service superintendent to service and finance, Bucyrus Codified Ordinance, Chapter 1137 regarding the airport commission to service, employee pay and other budget items to finance.
Now we are ready for the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second that.
I'll third that.
Mr. Myers made the motion, Ms. Scher seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned at 9:08 p.m.